This week on Whiskey and Things, I talk to radio journalist Anna Jones.
And we try Jameson Caskmates Stout Edition. And we hear tasting notes from our resident creepy uncle, the Whisky God.
Make sure you're following us on our social media platforms. We're on Twitter and Facebook at Whiskey and Things, and on Instagram at Whiskey and Things Podcast. That's whiskey without an E.
And you know that preferred podcast platform? Yeah, you can subscribe to us on that. And then leave a review and rate us. Amazing.
You're listening to the Whiskey and Things Podcast with Dave Giles and Nick Kent.
Hello, my name is Dave Giles.
And I am Nick Kent. Welcome to episode 6 of Whiskey and Things.
Welcome.
How are you, David?
I don't know where I'm starting.
It's episode 6, god damn you.
Yeah, I know. I've just got so many notes for this week. Mate. So, shall we? I just want to talk about last week, really. Before we get going, should we just talk about last week's episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we had Danny Gruff on last week.
Legend.
Yeah.
Great name too. Great name. Always loved that name.
We had a couple of comments about that. One from Amar, who we've heard from before, who called the three of us a bundle of chaotic fun. I think that's a good review of the interview.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, we had fun. We are a bundle.
We also got another bit of contact from @SpiceBaggins on Twitter, who started the reminiscing about Cork, because she's from Cork.
Yeah.
And she has asked a question, Nick. Are we going to get Seamus on the pod?
Seamus. Might be tough.
The legendary Seamus.
He's infamous. I don't know. He might be in jail.
He's infamy.
He's infamous.
He's got an infamy.
Oh, he loves a white wine, that guy. I don't know if he's a whiskey man. He loves a white wine, from what I remember of that evening. But yeah. What else you got, Dave?
I can't remember.
I thought you had a load of notes in front of you.
I do, but I haven't written in any order that makes sense.
So professional.
Yeah. Oh, I've got some more reviews for later on that we can go through later on.
Should we bring
up? It. What do we normally do in this part?
Well, our friends, funny because you mentioned Iceland last week, didn't you?
I did mention, yes. Last week we were talking about Iceland. You're right.
Our friend Stu, who lives out there, who used to be on the YouTube show now and again. He was a mentalist. He came on and wowed us with his skills. He sent us a little link about some Icelandic whiskey, which is very interesting.
Yeah, what was it called?
Well, I'm obviously going to pronounce it wrong.
For once, it won't be me because I've asked you the question.
I know. It's I'm going to say Floki, Floki, but the O has a little dash above it.
Can we call it Floki just for the Floki?
Floki? Anyway.
Floki?
Anyway, it's their only, I think it's their only whiskey distillery out there. But it's something quite special about their whiskey, right?
Go on. Is it to do with the water?
I wish. I bet the water's fantastic up there, though. But some whiskies are, like the barley is smoked with peat or some other combustible. Well, they do it a bit differently up there. What do you think they dry their malted barley with up there instead of peat, etc.? What do they smoke it with?
Oh, it's going to be manure or something like that, isn't it?
Sheep dung, mate.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Do I want to try this whiskey?
If you think peaty whiskey smells a bit odd, a bit like a farmyard, can you imagine what that smells like? I really want to try it. But yeah, Floki.
Hopefully we'll be able to get to Iceland and give it a go.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Hey, actually, I'm going to bring up someone who I think we're going to mention later as well. Okay. Our friend Josh got in contact. Now, he doesn't know much about whiskey, but he did ask who Pete is and why he's always... and what does he taste like?
Wow. For once, it's not us lowering the tone of this show.
Yep.
Wow. Should we bring it back to Ireland? Should we bring it back to a nice safe whiskey?
Whiskey butts, roll out.
This week's whiskey
is one. We're returning to it a little bit because we did have this on a few weeks ago, episode 2, when I interviewed Ruse. We did the Jameson Caskmates Stout Edition. Did end up being our favourite whiskey to put in an Irish coffee. So,
okay.
Yeah, as you remember, Dave.
I do remember that.
I remember.
So
you remember Chewbacca?
No cork.
No.
So no pop.
You know what? I got excited this morning. Why? Because
I get excited every morning.
Do you? I don't want to know. That's why you get up so late. I got excited because I actually thought maybe it was actually founded by Jim Jameson, but it's not. It's John.
I
Jameson.
thought it was.
Yeah, me too.
Oh no! I was thinking the same last week when you talked about it. I was like, my Jim Jameson joke is finally going to land.
Yeah. I was thinking, I had it in my head. I was thinking, Dave's finally going to nail it today when he says Jim Jameson, but alas, no, it's John.
Hang on, I think because he's got sons, it's John Jameson and sons, and if I remember rightly, I'm pretty sure one of the sons was called Jim. Might be making that up, but I've definitely got Jim. Why have I got Jim Jameson in my head? Or is that is that a Spider-Man thing? Is that what it is?
No,
I don't know. Anyway,
no. No. What did I just have in my head? Oh, yeah. John Jameson was actually Scottish as well, funnily enough. Just putting that out there.
It's all a lie.
Did
it's
you
all a
know?
lie. We're not doing regular Jamesons, which we love.
Which we'd love,
This is the special Caskmate edition. Or is it that special, or is it now regular?
Oh, no, it's a regular one, yeah. They do an IPA version of this as well. But this is my favourite one. It's so easy to drink, and it is lovely. It was a bit of a accident how this came about.
Go on. I like accidents.
Yeah, happy accident, I think, because there was a brewery near them, near Middleton, Cork. Of course, yeah, all really close together, as me and Danny know. There's a brewery called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Franciscan, that'll work. Franciscan Well.
Yeah.
They asked for some Jameson's barrels to finish their stout in. Right? So they did that, made their stout, lovely jubbly, sent the barrels back, and then Jameson just filled it with their regular blended, off the shelf Jameson, aged it for another 6 months, and this is what came out of it. So it actually came from the brewery wanting to mix it first, funnily enough.
And then they just thought, we'll try that.
Tried it. It worked lovely, and
I'm new to this one. I only got this bottle because I'd never had it before, amazingly.
Yeah.
But I am new to it, but I have tried it already. I bought the bottle a few weeks ago, but I have tried it, and it is delightful.
Yeah, it's really
on the
lovely.
Nose, you can really smell the chocolate.
Yeah, and that's what came through with the Irish coffees and stuff, which made that
the dark
really
chocolate.
lovely.
You can really, really, really smell. But it also still smells of Jameson's. So. And it's so smooth. It's so smooth. And creamy. Oh, creamy. I'm certain the God's going to say that. If he doesn't, I'm going to... He's lost his job. I'm going to take over.
The distillery that makes this make a lot of things, right? Obviously, up to 2014, they made Tullamore Dew, DEW. But they also make Powers, Paddy, Redbreast, Green Spot, Yellow Spot... They make all kinds of whiskies in that place.
Different.
The new make, for example, definitely before it goes into the barrels they want to age it in and all that kind of thing. They're doing some cool stuff up there. So they have another company there, like a little micro distillery called Method and Madness as well, where there's like no rules whatsoever, where they're like doing all kinds of different blends and crazy stuff. That's a different brand in itself, but it's all in the same distillery. It's really cool.
Did you know? Talking of barrels, going back to the barrels.
Yeah.
Do you know what a barrel maker is called?
It's called a cooper.
He is called a cooper, or she is called a cooper.
Yes, cooperage.
If your surname is Cooper, you come from a history of barrel makers.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
Like Smith is obviously Smiths.
Yeah, they work in WH Smiths.
Yeah.
They're stationers.
That's exactly right. Anyway, I love this whiskey. I can't wait to hear what the God's got to say about it. But if you haven't tried, if you're a regular Jameson's drinker who hasn't tried this, you should do. Because most Jameson's for me is one of the few whiskies I think you shoot. Right, you do it as a shot when you're on a night out.
We definitely have, yeah.
Whereas this is more of a drinkable Jameson's, is it? This is the kind of you can sit down and really enjoy this, but it's still got that Jameson's flavour, but it's just a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more there.
Yeah, but you don't want to shoot Jameson's. I couldn't drink Jameson's for a long time because we did too many shots of it, by the way. But that's a story for another podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Welcome to Regrets and Things.
Just get the things over with.
Hey, Nick. Just want to say, love that video that you mentioned last week that you put up online.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. It came out right.
The American Idiot one. I think you did a really good job there.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still right. Hopefully people are donating a bit of money because it's hard to tell with those kind of things. But yes, thank you, David.
I was impressed. I think it's wonderful, and the fact you've done it for the right reasons is also commendable. So well done.
Thank you.
Well done for that. And I'm sure we'll put up a link to it. Or we probably already have at some point over time.
Yeah, we'll do something with it.
But yeah, well done. What else have you been up? Have you been up to anything else this week?
Well, I rebuilt my flat after the Whisky God destroyed it last week. I managed to save the Lagavulin. I managed to save the Lagavulin.
I was concerned about the Lagavulin. I'll be honest. That was
mate. I've got about 3/4 of a bottle there. You know, I've had that nearly a year now. That bottle.
Yeah. That's not cheap.
No, apart from rebuilding my flat again. I'll be finishing off another video because that's pretty much all I do at the moment because I'm locked in where everyone should be. Finishing off a cover of Toto's Africa, which hopefully should be out. I'm mentioning it now so I can actually pull my finger out and get it finished by the time this comes out.
Is that with your function band again?
Yeah, and there's 8 of us doing this one. Yeah.
Oh my God, with all the harmonies.
Yeah, all the harmonies.
Oh my God, I'm excited about this.
Wayne the drummer's got all the percussion out, all the percussion. So yeah, there's that coming on.
So you're taking it up a gear.
Yes, it's yeah, top gear on
or
this
3
one.
gears all at once.
Yeah,
it's gone from 2nd to 5th.
All the harmonies. So there's that coming out. And I've also been putting the finishing touches to a campaign launch video for a certain singer-songwriter I know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I started months ago and unfortunately it had to get delayed. But, I think you know him.
Don't know any singer-songwriters.
Okay. Well, in that case,
as this podcast has proved.
Yeah, in that case, let's move on to the interview. What have you been up to, Dave?
All right. Well, I started a campaign.
Oh, really? What a coinky-dink.
Yeah. Coinky-dink. What a great word that is. I'm using that again.
That's a Ned Flanders. That's a Ned Flanders special, mate, yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. So I've been planning this for 2 years and then Corona happened. Basically, my next album I've been planning on recording at the legendary Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah, I've heard of it
in London.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think I personally think it must be the world's most famous recording studio. It's definitely the world's most famous zebra crossing outside of it, or pedestrian crossing for those of you who are abroad. Well, is zebra crossing one of those?
Or a pelican?
I've no idea. I think it's a zebra crossing. Anyway, these are very English things, aren't they? I don't know.
Crosswalk.
Highway code and things. That's another podcast we can do. Anyway.
$1 million idea.
Yeah, exactly. Right there. But so, yeah, I originally, when Corona happened, I was literally going to announce it on the 16th of March. And then that was the week it was really kicking off over here for the start of the lockdown. And so I delayed it. And originally I was just going to let the whole thing play out and just delay it until whenever the world was back to some form of normality. But it looks like it's going to be a long time now.
Yeah.
And because I've been planning it for so long, I just felt like I should get it started and delay the project, but get it started. Because some of the things I've put on sale to launch the project have sell-by dates. So,
no, imagine.
They're sitting in the flat. I've got some barbecue sauce, some chili sauce, and chutney, and some tea.
Where'd you put all that?
Yeah, I know. It's currently my bed is surrounded by big cardboard boxes. So I've got the world's biggest bedroom fort.
Whoa. You haven't had guests recently, so yeah, bedroom.
Oh yeah, exactly. No one's coming around, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I felt like I should at least do what I'm considering to be a soft launch. I'm not going to go too crazy on it because obviously I can't tour or anything like that. But
it's a cold open, Dave.
Yeah, but I just wanted to let people know this is what I've been planning for 2 years, and this is what I hope to do. And it's a crazy project of which, if you want to find out more, go and have a look on my website. But
that's a very exciting project, man. It really is. You can tell it in my voice there. It's a very exciting project, Dave. It really
hopefully. Biggest selling product so far has been the tea towel.
Really? It's quite a cool tea towel, actually.
I've also managed to have an interview with a friend, and I thought we should break up all these musicians. You and I are musicians, right? So naturally, a lot of the people that are probably going to be most interesting for us to interview who we know are musicians, because that's our friendship circles. Thought it would be nice to break it up a bit with another friend who's does something completely different. So a few weeks ago, we got asked a question from my friend Anna, who asked you how your nasal technique was going with regards to smelling whiskey.
Oh, that was her, was it? She was the culprit of that, was she? Right.
She was.
Yeah.
But she has a very interesting job because she is a journalist, a radio journalist, and she has worked for all the big major people in the UK, and has reported breaking news and been behind the reports for some of the big stories that have happened over the last 10 years, however long she's been doing it. So I figured that might be interesting.
Yeah.
And I think this is an interesting interview. So here's this interview with Anna Jones. Welcome, Anna Jones.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us. Do you know you're our first non-musician guest? Oh, actually, there was one whiskey guy. But you're since we got started, you're our first non-whiskey guest.
Yes, I feel honoured.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Anna, tell us your job description.
Before we get to that, I have a bone to pick with you, which has nothing to do with my job.
Okay.
Why have you never told me that whiskey can taste like cake? Saurine, country slice, Christmas cake. You have never told me this. I feel like I've been cheated.
Right. In fairness, it's more to do with the smell. When we're talking about the cake stuff, it tends more to be on the nose than in the actual flavour. But you're right. Amount of times you and I have traipsed around looking for cake.
Yeah.
You would think I would have brought that up at some point.
Surely.
Yeah.
I just feel cheated and lied to.
You're right.
I just wanted to get that off my chest.
I do apologise. When I find some really cakey whiskey, I'll be sure to let you know. Anyway, tell people what you do, because you're not a musician.
I'm not a musician. So I am a radio journalist. So I've worked for the biggest broadcasters in the country. If you've listened to radio at any point, you've probably heard me banging on about the news on some station or other. So my job is to find the news, work out what's interesting, put it in some sort of order, make it understandable, illustrate it properly, fit it all into a certain amount of time to make people want to listen to it.
Let's go to your origin story. How did you get into this?
So
was it always a dream?
To be a journalist, I think. Yeah. But I signed up for student radio at university. You know when you're in the Freshers' Fair tent?
Yes.
And you're trying to find stuff to do. I couldn't find the newspaper, so I signed up for radio instead.
Amazing.
Which, it was a £5. I thought, yeah, why not?
Why not?
I got my free wooden spoon from Wilko, as was the way at the time. Not sure why. But so I got my spoon, and then I signed up for the radio for a £5, and then here I am. I did student radio. I spent way too much time doing it. I was just one of the nerds in the basement student radio station when I should have been in the library, not doing my proper studying, but just messing around on the radio, and it was really fun.
Was your degree in radio, or was it your degree completely separate?
No, it was in French.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course.
Why not?
And have you done many broadcasts in French?
Oh, loads, Dave. None. Absolutely none. It was just really fun. And sadly, it's not as fun doing it in real life when you can't say anything you want to and no one is ever going to notice because it's only people in the student union shop who are listening, and even then they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
So, I just got the bug, and that's what I wanted to do, and I'm still doing it.
Obviously, you work on cutting edge news stories all the time.
Yeah.
Does it get difficult to switch off?
Yes, it does, especially at the moment.
I was going to say, right now, because you're still working, obviously, right?
Yeah. I actually feel very lucky because I have to still go into work because the stuff we do can't be done from home. So there are all these measures in place to protect us in the office, but you have to go in. So I'm still going into work as much as I was, if not more, because people are off sick and we're covering them. So I feel like I get that a bit of escape from being in lockdown when I go to work and I talk about the whole country being in lockdown. And then at the end of the shift, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. That's my life. Like, people have been asking me, what was the bigger story or harder to do? Was it Brexit that obviously went on for months and months and months, and there were votes about amendments about nothing, it was just so complicated. Was that harder, or was coronavirus harder? Coronavirus, because you do it all day, it's really intense, and then you go home, you can't go out because it's your life, you're the story, and you never want to be the story, ever. Also, lockdown problems. You might be able to hear my neighbour downstairs blending things. They blend stuff constantly for their baby. It drives my housemate crazy. So what would they be blending now? It's like the afternoon. Maybe it's dinner blending. Yeah. Don't know.
I've got a kid downstairs smashing the ball against the gate underneath where I'm sitting right now. So hopefully that's not coming through too much. But he does it every day between 3 and 5. He gets his 2 hours outside.
At least he's punctual.
Yeah. When people have a go at the media...
Oh, hello.
Do you take it personally? Because I've done it to you a few times where, on both trivial things and bigger things, where I have sent you a message because you're my only friend who works in mainstream media.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
You're my only friend who works in mainstream media.
Probably my only friend. But who... So therefore, when I'm irked that a story hasn't got enough attention or the way something's been reported, even if you've had nothing to do with how that you're my outlet that gets the venting on that.
I have noticed this, I must say. I have noticed that.
Yeah.
Anna, why have they done that? I don't work there, Dave. But why?
Do you have other friends who also are like that with you?
Yeah, or they will... or it'll be people, maybe less friends because they know how I'll react, but acquaintances will be like, oh, did you hear? And then they did this and they did that. And I can't believe the media do that. And I'm like, hello, do you know what I do? You're basically just laying into me right now. So,
But do you take it personally? Or
Yeah, a little bit. I'm trying to think of an example. So say for Brexit, before the EU referendum, we spent months and months trying to explain so clearly to everyone what was going on, what that meant, no matter, what side of the fence you fell on. We were trying to give out all the arguments. And then a lot of people didn't bother voting. A lot of people just voted for one thing because they thought that was the right thing to do, and they hadn't listened to any of the stuff that we'd been slaving over, churning out to try and explain what the arguments were. And then the day after the EU referendum, the most Googled thing was, what is the EU? Yeah. Have you guys been listening at all? And then it'll be, well, the media didn't tell us this, the media didn't tell us that. It's we really tried. Yeah. You guys just didn't listen. And you Googled the next day what the thing was that you just cast a massive vote on. So it could be a little bit annoying, definitely. It's so funny seeing complaints come in, because if you get a complaint that says about one particular thing you've done, say I'd done a news bulletin the last hour, someone would complain saying that was really biased towards Labour, and then someone else would complain saying that was really biased towards the Conservatives, the same thing, the same sentence. You're I've done my job then.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that must be balanced. Nobody's happy.
Mate, that was fantastic.
I know. Well, the second part is in my mind even better. We talk about her favourite stories that she's reported on and so. That's coming up later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that job must be so tough as well. You cannot go wrong, and you have to be really quick, with your facts, getting everything right. And and she got into that completely by accident, which I found hilarious.
Yeah, go off to study French, and then you end up being a radio journalist.
Yeah,
as I said, we'll hear more about her later. One thing that did make me laugh is as we finished the interview, her flatmate turned around, who was in the room. He's got the same job.
Yeah.
And he turned around and was laughing, and she was like, "What are you laughing at?" And she was like, "You did that whole interview with your radio voice on." And it's so true. I've known Anna for a while now, and I didn't. As soon as he said it, I was like, "Oh my God, yes!"
Wow.
Because she does obviously she went into professional mode and was trying to use her diction and things like that to make sure that everything came out clear.
So when she finished, was she like, "All right, Dave, was that done? Is that all right? Was it?" Yeah.
It's not that. It's not that drastic.
Right? But I really enjoyed that. No,
it does.
Clearly not.
It does make me think, like, all these other newsreaders out there. I wonder what their normal everyday voices are, especially the ones that have like the regional accents, like Hugh Edwards, who keeps his Welsh, but is he even more Welsh in real life?
Oh, wow.
But yeah. Anyway, should we cut to the God?
Oh, all right.
Whiskey.
Right, it's that time of the week again.
Whiskey God time. Hey, I hope he's calmed down a little bit.
Me too, mate. Me too. He was furious.
I mean, he was even kicking off with Danny Gruff on Instagram.
Oh yeah, he's got an Instagram now and a Twitter.
Yeah. So on Instagram, he's at the.whiskey.god.
And on Twitter, he's just at the Whisky God?
Just at Whisky God.
At Whisky God. No the required.
No. And he was giving the Pope some grief this week.
Oh, the Pope. Wasn't he giving Danny Gruff some grief as well?
He gave Gruff, he offered Gruff out in a fight.
Oh, God. Doesn't want to do that.
I know. Outrageous.
He can handle himself. He can.
Who, Gruff or the God?
I'm talking about Gruff.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason he's called Gruff.
Gruff around the edges. Friend of the pod, Josh Elms, who we mentioned earlier, he's been in touch and he's informed us that the little turtle who starts the Mario Kart races is named Lakitu.
Lakitu. Well, it's a beautifully clear day outside right now.
It is lovely, isn't it?
If
I
look out the window, do we think Lakitu is going to come out on his little cloud and just hang by our window?
Little Lakitu. Yeah,
little Lakitu. Oh, no, here he is.
Come on, Lakitu. Lakitu. Oh, my God.
Come on, Lakitu.
Come on, little Lakitu. In a little cloud with a little shell.
With his little flag.
Lakitu.
Lakitu, my ass.
Oh, that worked.
Have you calmed down this week, Whisky God?
Nicholas, of course I'm calm. I'm always calm. Like a soothing Highland glen on a warm summer's eve.
Calm?
Calm?
And who's Glenn?
I know Glenn.
Anyway, can you and Glenn let us know your tasting notes for the beautiful Jameson Caskmates Stout Edition?
Tasting notes. Jameson Caskmates Stout Edition. On the ice. A deep, transparent caramel, atypical of Irish whiskies of this age. On the nose, hints of coffee, malted dark chocolate, dark candy sweets, perhaps roasted or dry fruit, brown sugar, some warm oatmeal. What a welcoming introduction to the nose. Creamy.
He did it.
He's still got a job.
On the palate, a complex story of cinnamon hits the sides of the tongue. Wrap this in a blanket of hazelnut, a bit of honeyed citrus, and cocoa, ending in a welcoming embrace of brown sugar and creamed coffee. What a beautiful, unrequited relationship of a stout cask finish at play. Speaking of the finish, the final lasting whispers end in malted cocoa, that coffee again. and a grounding earth note. Overall, an amazing relationship has occurred here between the young Irish whiskey and the stout casks, where the typical Jameson Irish whiskey produces memories of being introduced to this region's bounty. The stout casks offer an enhancement that is enough to stop a conversation mid-go. This whiskey is as fun to drink as it is enough to force one to take a moment of silence for each exquisite sip. A dark, welcome breath of fresh Irish air.
Blanket of hazelnut, Dave. He's getting back into his erotic ways there. Come here, lay with me on my blanket of hazelnut.
I have had many a beautiful unrequited relationship.
Well, you are getting on a bit.
Yeah. He says this every now and then, and I don't ever know what it means. What does he mean when he's talking about dark candy sweets? Is he talking about like hard American candy, but the dark flavoured ones?
The thing I think of when he says that is stuff like toffees, caramels.
Right.
Not the fruity stuff. Maybe a Werther's original, perhaps.
We should ask him next week.
On the lighter end. But yeah, I'd say toffee.
We should ask him.
Yeah, you try. You try getting anything out of that guy.
The whiskey! So let's hear more from Anna Jones. I'm going to ask her more about some of her favourite stories and find out some more interesting stuff about what it's like being a news reporter on the radio.
Things.
What's your favourite big story that you've covered? Do you prefer, for example, have you preferred doing election broadcasting in the run up to that, where you know you've got 6 weeks to talk about something, or 12 weeks, whatever it is, and then it's done, kind of? Or
Yes.
was Brexit more interesting to cover, or has there been other big stories, maybe royal family stories, or whatever it is that's actually been really interesting to cover?
I guess they sort of fall into two different categories. So stories that I've actually been at, because a lot of what I do, you're in the office. So you're covering huge stories, but you're doing it like an editorial role, so you're not going out and finding stuff. For ones where I've actually been out, the royal wedding was very fun. So I got to go to Windsor. I got to go to Windsor, and we were like the other side of the castle wall, but we still had to dress up, and it was a lovely sunny day, and everyone was so happy that the streets were full, and we spoke to loads of people in the street, and you could hear all the bells, and we were doing live radio bulletins from the castle. So that was really fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I've got
amazing.
a lovely picture in a blue frock, Dave. I'll send it to you. I look dead chuffed for myself. I'm going to the wedding, but just standing outside.
Well, yes, one of those. I was almost invited to the royal wedding.
Nearly. I was there. They just didn't know it. So that was very fun. At the other end of the glamour scale, for the Scottish independence referendum, I was doing live bulletins overnight from Edinburgh. But because it's radio, the glamour is off the scale. So I was doing it in like a PE sports centre thing near the airport. And it was just... So it was very cool to be doing that because it's a historic thing.
Yeah.
But it was the least glamorous thing ever.
Yeah.
Because I sat in a PE thing, and then it all happened a lot earlier than we thought it was. So it was much of an anticlimax, and ended up sitting in an airport for 6 hours and then came back to London. So that was a bit random. But my favourite stories that I haven't been to but I love is MH370.
Yeah.
The plane that dropped out of the sky. And Oscar Pistorius, the trial, and the whole story. That was an incredible story. You couldn't make that up.
The Oscar one.
Either of them you couldn't make up.
The fact it was Valentine's Day was just even more crazy. I remember when that story broke, and it was like, Oscar Pistorius, the hero of 2012.
Yeah. The fact that he's a hero, the fact it's Valentine's Day, the fact his girlfriend was a mega famous supermodel. It was all the things.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why there's not a film yet. Why isn't there a film yet?
That's a good point.
Make a film. Come on, Dave. You and Nick.
Yeah, I'll get onto that. That. The plane story. I mean, has that even reached a conclusion? Have they even figured out what happened yet? I don't think they have they?
No, I don't think so.
I'm going to have to look that up. Which brings me on to the next question. How much of your day do you spend going, I don't know what that means? I've got to go and look it up. And are you constantly learning? Because as a story breaks, you've got to be an expert on pretty much everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, when I meet people, they say, I'm a journalist. Like, what sort of journalism do you do? Do you do, business or politics or entertainment? Like, I know I have to do everything, because on the radio you get everything, and you might get 5 minutes notice that you have to write a story, and suddenly you're an expert on inflation, or you're an expert on Taylor Swift, or you're an expert on...
space travel.
I don't know. Space travel, exactly. Of which I am slightly more now I'm friends with you. But anyway... so thank God for Google. Yeah. Other search engines are available. But
said as a real pro.
They're not really. Because otherwise it would take forever. And I suppose it comes hand in hand, doesn't it? Wanting news faster has come with Google being there, so everything is just a lot faster. Whereas back in the day, if you had to, if you had a word you didn't know, you'd have to get a dictionary out or an encyclopedia for a topic you didn't know much about. I can't imagine that.
How often do you use Wikipedia, if ever? Are you briefed that you're not allowed to use it, or how does that work? Because obviously, it can be great, but it can be horrendously wrong as well.
It can just be the worst thing ever. I'd often use Wikipedia as like a first port of call. So say, I don't know, if somebody dies and I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea who this person is. It might have been someone who was, famous in the 60s or 70s and I just haven't got a clue. You look there for a bit of background knowledge, but I'd never take anything on there as my only source. Even people's ages are wrong on Wikipedia. Yeah. And that caused no end of problems, especially if someone's died and you're saying how old they were. That's like the simple fact. Okay. So you'd go on Wikipedia just for a bit of background, or to check that someone's got the, that it is the right person you're talking about, that their face matches. But yeah, I'd never use it as read. That's like back to student radio days. Should be like Wikipedia, copy, paste, read it out. Not done that for a little while.
So often, for me, the best story of the news is always the and finally, because normally space travel stuff gets put in the and finally stuff. So if we get it mentioned at all, it's and finally. But obviously on a slower news day, that must be you've got to go and find something wacky to put in there, or something that's going to just make people smile a bit. It's often the good news bit, isn't it? The and finally story.
It's actually really important. I know a lot of people see it as just any old rubbish we'll stick at the end of a news bulletin, but it is important, especially when you're doing things like music radio. You don't want to depress people with, politics or pandemics or whatever, and then someone's got to go back to Michael Bublé and be all happy about it. It just sounds really weird, so you need a buffer. Yeah. It's really important.
What are your favourite and finally stories you've reported on?
I've been trying to think about this, and my memory is pretty much like a sieve when it comes to news stories. I'll remember that the last couple of days, but just can't keep space for them. A lot of them, I think, are animal stories. Everyone loves an animal story. There was a great one a few months ago where I think it was in Japan, this zookeeper was dressing up as a penguin to feed baby penguin chicks so it didn't get scared and so it would take the milk, and it was just hilarious, and trying to explain that on the radio was fun because you got to properly he had like a penguin arm, he had a penguin head. It was great. Look it up.
That's amazing. That's the kind of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how do you find these stories? Do they normally just present themselves to you, or do you have to go looking for them? And is there a kind of a website that exists of crazy news stories that all you news presenters or producers are going to kind of, that one looks fun, we'll do that one today?
I reckon, like all the places I've worked, it's always the websites of those places who seem to get those stories. I don't know how they find them, but I suppose often they're picture-based, aren't they? There'll be a funny picture. So they get more funnies than radio. And a lot of the funnies you can't even say on the radio because, kids are listening. But, so I'll often go there for stuff. But sometimes it'll just be something that you've seen or goes viral on Twitter or Facebook, and then you can work out that it's an actual story. I think, especially at the moment, it's hard to remember other news, and that other news can be fun or just fun for some people. Like, do you remember when KFC ran out of chicken?
I was thinking about that. When McDonald's closed, I was like, oh my God, we all remember how bad it was when KFC ran out of chicken. Like,
yeah.
Are we going to cope?
There was panic buying.
Are we going to cope?
So I know that's not a fun and finally for everybody, but it's definitely a fun story.
Do I remember? God, I'm never going to forget.
I'm sorry to bring it up even.
And in my best radio voice. And finally, are you a whiskey drinker?
No, because I didn't think it tasted like cake, and now apparently it smells like cake, so I'm in.
All right, okay. Well, next time we're together, we'll definitely do some whiskey cake sampling.
Whiskey with cake.
Whiskey with cake. Oh, yeah.
Whiskey and cake.
Whiskey and cake. That sounds like a great podcast. Sign me up.
So you telling me, Dave, you haven't read my screenplay, Oscar Pistorius? Faster, higher, deadlier. It's in the Dropbox. It's in the Dropbox, Dave.
And who do I play?
You're not in it.
Oh.
I needed your opinion on it. Mate, it's a killer.
Well, I look forward to you making that.
Well, I'll put it in the Dropbox, mate, if you want to read it.
I've only just realised what you said.
Allegedly.
Sorry, I was a bit slow there. No, it's not allegedly. He got done.
I thought he got off.
No, he got convicted. I think he got let out early, but he definitely got convicted. He definitely went to jail.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on from that.
Anyway, yeah, fascinating there.
No, that was so good. So good. I really enjoyed that. Great news voice.
I know. Anna has actually offered to give you and I a lesson in creating our own news voice.
Really?
And has suggested that for our Patreon subscribers, we will make a video of us reading a news story using this news voice.
I'm well up for that.
Yeah?
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Because even just doing this, I feel has, improved my articulation and diction. I think they're relative words. She
may teach us some few things that may help improve the pod as well. So who knows? But I figure we'll set up a little freeway there and get that going. I think that could be fun.
Look forward to it.
So fresh.
Can I do it?
Yeah, right.
And finally.
Oh, beautiful.
I haven't got anything.
So well
you can actually do it. I haven't got it. I just wanted to get one in there.
All right. So, and finally, we've got a few shout outs to do. As usual, I'm going to start off. I think this may be the first time someone's been mentioned in an episode 3 times.
Oh,
but our friend, Josh.
We do have other listeners.
Some people call him George.
Yeah.
He has given me this wonderful review, or given us this wonderful review on Twitter. So you may remember a few weeks ago when my friend Lucy sent me a message saying she didn't think she was going to enjoy it because she thought it was all going to be about whiskey.
She was surprised she enjoyed it.
Nice choice exactly.
Of words.
So Josh, or George, has said this, that he agrees with Lucy. He didn't know how much would be whiskey and how much would be things. Plus, without the bonus of watching Nick, he didn't know if his gay ADHD would allow him to remain focused. But 10 out of 10, he thoroughly recommends this.
Well, thank God it's a podcast. That's all I'm saying. Well, thank you for that, Joshua.
Yeah, I love that expression, gay ADHD. That just is absolutely, that made me crease up. And we've also heard from someone new, someone completely new who you or I don't know.
Someone new? We think.
A guy called Todd Sloan, who has given us a 5-star review on Facebook. I didn't know Facebook reviews were a thing, but on our Whiskey and Things podcast page, you can put a review on there.
Wow. Okay. No, it's news to me.
And he's given us a 5-star review. He said he listened to all 5 podcasts in a row, and he can't wait for the next one.
Fantastic.
Which,
well,
hopefully hasn't disappointed you, Todd.
Well, better edit this one well then. Okay.
Yeah, no pressure, Nick. Todd, let us know what you think. And as always, we normally end by telling people what whiskey we are going to be doing next week.
Yeah.
So you can perhaps join in and get us your reviews in earlier. So far, no one's been able to get in their review earlier, but we did hear from Daniel Strickland, who is one of our patrons, and you can become one too on our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/whiskeyandthings. And he said that he was a bit frustrated because his bottle of Highland Park hadn't arrived before last week's show.
It's disappointing.
So I think what you and I have done something pretty special for the next 15 weeks. We know what we're going to be drinking. Not in what order, but we know what we're going to be drinking. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, because whiskey's very expensive. If you want to have a new one every week.
And Nick and I aren't earning any money at the moment.
We're not. No, we've decided to try this service from a website that some of our listeners might be aware of called Master of Malt. It's a site where you can order a wide range of spirits, etc. Now, they offer this great service called Drinks by the Dram, where instead of having to buy an entire bottle of something, you can order small 30ml sample bottles, which are just a little bit larger than a single measure. A dram, basically. Now, they come in sets of 5 with either pre-selected themes or you can make your own selections. For example, we've ordered the Regions of Scotland and Bourbon sets, as well as a third containing some more left field and unusual options. Now, these worked out about £25 a set, which is about $5 a shot, but obviously you can get as extravagant as you want, but it will cost you more.
But what is wonderful about this, in my mind, is that even for those of you who have been listening who perhaps aren't into whiskey, you can get them and you're not buying a whole bottle of whiskey, which you're going to have a sip of and you might not like. You might, but if you do like it, this could be a gateway into you enjoying whiskey. Yeah. Just from trialing some of the stuff and also having us with our tasting notes and you joining in with your tasting notes and the God getting the God's experience and all this. I think this could be a good way forward for us. And the fact that we've got the Scotch set and the bourbon set, but with the 5 you've put together, a couple of Irish, an English whiskey, a Swedish whiskey, and even an Indian whiskey. This might be a way forward. So we'll put up on our social media the ones we've got. And if you have some money and you want to join in with us over the next 15 weeks, then by all means get them, and we'll announce the week before which one we're going to do the next week.
And as well, which it won't happen maybe all the time, but with us, when we ordered these, we got them within 24 hours.
Yeah, it surprised me in the current climate. Yeah. I generally thought we were going to have to wait a while, but they turn up very quickly. So Dan won't have to be disappointed if he does this. And Dan Strickland is a cocktail waiter.
Oh.
Is that the right expression? Cocktail barman.
I think it's called a mixologist, Dave.
There you go. What do I know?
Mixology.
But he's someone I know who's a barman in The Botanist in Farnham. Oh. He makes his own cocktails, so I'm sure he'd be interested in this website and knowing what we're going to be drinking.
Fantastic. Sweet. Sweet. Yeah, well, that's pretty much it, really. Next week we'll be tasting the Buffalo Trace bourbon. So
we will be.
Yeah, it's a nice easy drinker. Another easy drinker.
After all of that.
After all those, Indian, this, that, and the other.
We're going back to America and going to have a bourbon.
Yes. So,
did you say bourbon?
No, I didn't.
I think you said bourbon.
I definitely didn't say bourbon. Okay. I'll do a little callback. What did I say? Buffalo Trace bourbon. There you go.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Anyway, next week we're going to be joined by my friend Charlotte Campbell, singer-songwriter. She's the darling of the South Bank. So if you've ever been down to the South Bank,
she's awesome.
By the London Eye, then you may have seen Charlotte busking down there. She's absolutely wonderful. We're going to have her on.
Fantastic. She's awesome.
Amazing.
Okay.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye now.